should be able to tilt, and it'll just pick whatever up. Yeah. This is the point, and then the car should sit on it if we put it in gear. Our other fork truck has 48-inch fork, so this beam is at 44 inches. The other fork truck would be significantly better. Yeah, it might be a little bouncy. Cute. Sleeping in the snow.
You just have like the auto desktop.
Yeah. I don't know, the last Windows update we did, I had a drifting background and then I've just left it. Sometimes a change is good. All right, this episode, basically our third episode of Design Time. It's been working really well because we're always doing crazy stuff and it's really easy to put it all into a video. This is the further progression of the toolbox. I'm really only working on this on weekends or just at home after the kids go to sleep, so it's a bit of a slow process, but we are ready to build the frame. Rain has already cut all of these parts, so we're gonna start adding tubes and whatnot, but this is how far I've gotten. We have some sheet metal panels going on with some nice bends, some fenders that match the arc of the wheel. I did assemble the wheel and tire just to verify, like after inflating it to 30 PSI, do I still have the same tire diameter? Because we are running a pretty tight tolerance here, and I do want it to look like nice. I want it to be like fitted, as if it's slammed, but it's not, because when you remove the fender, it's got lots of room to go. Basically what I'm doing is just drawing boxes of things that I know I'm gonna want on this cart, and essentially that's how it's gonna take up the space. I could 3D scan these things, but we don't have time to do that. The idea here is I'm probably gonna have a thin tube barrier that's gonna be maybe an inch lip off everywhere. Maybe I should fold the floor up inverse so that actually creates the lip. I basically want everything to go in and out from the back here, and we're going to be loading and unloading things through the rear, and then the lip is going to help us contain whatever we've put here so that I don't need to put a bunch of straps everywhere. The other thing that I was going over was I wanted all of this to be aluminum checker plate, hence why I have all these holes pre-lasered so that I could easily fasten it. But then after talking with Cam, Rain, going over like the use of this cart and how functional it's going to be, I think it's going to be better made from steel, and likely just steel sheet metal, because we can stitch weld the floor and stuff from underneath. We can stitch weld the fenders from the inside, and it's going to be seamless. Plus the entire like canopy design that I'm going to be coming up with, that's going to basically bolt to the top deck, hold tires above and all of that. I haven't fully thought out that design yet, and we're gonna lay everything out and do a full video probably just on this and building this. So Design Time is just gonna cover the design time. So a lot of things to consider, but if it's made of steel, I can easily add, I can weld on whatever I want, E-track or tie downs or hoops or brackets. I can do anything, whereas if I put aluminum checker plate, sure, it's gonna look better, but then everything that I ever do has to be nut and bolted or self-tapped. That many fasteners over a period of time is just gonna come, they're just gonna rattle out of the floor and so on and so forth. I also want this to be able to park right up against the wall of the trailer. And then if you have fasteners, even if they're button heads, they're still gonna gouge the walls over time. So although checker plate would have looked better, I think the best is gonna be sheet metal, 1/8 steel, and then I can weld to it and do whatever. We'll paint this thing up nice, put some stickers on it and all of that. It'll look good still, but I think functionality wise, that's gonna be better. Other than that, that's all I have for this. The subframes and stuff are pretty cool, how they came together. I'm probably gonna extend this floor. We haven't cut the floor yet. I'll extend a little cap here just so it caps off the tube. Yeah, a lot of thought's gone into this, and everything's going pretty well. Even on the floor, I have a 1/4 inch all the way around each tube, just knowing that there's going to be a weld there, so add clearance to the floor. Thank me later, Rain, for thinking of doing this. that's it for that. Let's go on to what I have next. We have some rush car bumpers to mount in our trailer. I'm probably just gonna show that visually because they're still in there. C6 front bumper. Front bumper was a Kevlar bumper. It was really well supported on the sides and the top, and then it latches over our actual hood pins so it can come off really easily. But the bottom was only braced by 2 support beams, 2 support bars. And these support bars made the bumper really rigid, but what I didn't realize was that on an impact, the bar is gonna kind of stay where it is, and then the bumper is gonna deform and break around the bar. What I really needed was a thin tube, lower skirt support that went all the way across the bottom. And unfortunately we didn't do that, so we wrecked half the bumper. Now I talked to Matt Field, and he said that he uses the same bumper and he just collects them and then eventually splits them down the middle and puts one good right and one good left half together. And then he basically laps them and rivets them together in the center of the bumper and then makes one good bumper. So right now I'm 1 bumper down bad. I need to wreck another one in order to get the other side. The problem is in DMCC, every track is a left bank turn. So I'm always gonna be wrecking the right corner. So likely until I do something else, this bumper is just gonna have to chill out until I wreck the left of a different one and put it all together. So it's an investment. It's a long-term investment in buying really expensive bumpers, wrecking them over time, and then eventually mating one good pair. Needless to say, I'm gonna be making a lower bumper support, kind of like a splitter style. Maybe have some sheet metal, some ABS that kind of will prevent the bumper from deforming in a way that will break it. I'm okay if it gets pushed up, if it gets pushed over or in, but as long as it does it uniformly, if that's a word. The next thing, we're gonna go over the nitrous location and all of the stuff we did on the Corvette in the first episode. It all worked incredibly well. Toe plates for the Corvette. This is gonna be interesting. And then I have Z33, Z34 racing rear. A lot of guys are asking if our grip kits can be used for the rear race car, not drift car. So what I've done is, on a race car, we use auxiliary brackets for our brakes, which bolt to these 4 holes. And we can basically run Willwoods, Z33, Z34, Z32. You can run whatever calipers you want just by changing out the brake. But when you're racing, you need a lot more brake rigidity. So we just made the OEM mounts billet into the knuckle. They're nice and thick. They're not gonna deform or anything under braking. Because on racing, we use really big brakes. And then the other thing was we do a anti-squat and camber gain reduction. Well, it increases anti-squat on the upper, but then it reduces the amount of camber gain that you get with a relocation bracket, which I think I still have. This is the upper design that we sell with the drift kit. So it relocates the upper, this increases the anti-squat, and it also decreases the amount of camber gain that you're gonna see throughout the travel range. I got rid of that essentially. Oh no, I can't find it again. So we got rid of that because in racing, we wanna maintain that camber gain around cornering. And yeah, we just made this arm a little bit more rigid. In drifting, we actually want the arm to bend fairly easily because with our smooth adjuster design, we can remove that arm and put a new arm on. Subframe's still good. This is all great for drifting, but in racing, we need rigidity. We don't necessarily need the super quick adjustments or frequent adjustments. In drifting, we're changing our rear alignments every track. In racing, you're pretty much changing the alignment per the car, and then the car doesn't really change even if you're changing the tracks. It does a little bit, of course, but not nearly as much as drifting. In drifting, we are really setting up for tire wear and it's constantly changing. So this is the new upper, and then that's the new knuckle. We're gonna do a prototype setup and offer this to a couple guys first, get the preliminary testing done, and that's gonna be a new product probably down the line. All part of design time. And then the last thing, which was just a random thought yesterday at like 3:30, I've really wanted to set the toe on my car based off of some part of the frame that's consistently square so that I can do a left and right toe adjustment really easily. The reason for that is when I'm setting up the car to do a left bank track where all turns are left and we basically do a quick transition then back into a left, bank tracks are extremely hard on the weight transfer to the rear right, and mitigating that with our tire wear and our alignment and our shocks means that our track width is really out of square in terms of doing a 4-wheeled string alignment, because usually we measure to the center of the wheel, square up the strings, and then do toe adjustments from there. But when I do both my rear wheels like this, I've actually widened the track width on the left and I've narrowed the track width on the right. So if I centered the hubs front to rear, the chassis itself would actually be off center, and I don't really want to do that. I just want to set my toe square to the front. So with this is a aluminum sheet that bolts to the subframe, and then it picks up a bracket that's gonna bolt to the sway bar. And essentially these little squares are exactly square to each other, and they line up perfectly with the center of the tire. They're 24 inches wide. They land just outside of where your tire is gonna be sitting. And I'm basically gonna be able to lasso my tape measure right onto this point and this point, bring it out to my toe plate, which will be on the wheel, bring the tape measure to the toe plate, and I'm gonna be able to set the toe left to right, completely independent of each other, so that I know that my rear is square to the chassis no matter what camber or settings I'm doing. It's gonna be accurate enough to within whatever the laser's producing, which is a 10 to 15 thou variance. But for the purpose of what we're doing, it's gonna be really good. It's gonna be better than a string or using two toe plates and aligning the rear. So this is gonna be a cool idea that I'm just gonna try it out. This is a 16 gauge aluminum with a 90-degree bend that's gonna just keep it from flopping around. We're gonna bolt it on, it weighs 2.5 pounds, and see how I like using it. And we're probably gonna wanna make improvements or changes or things like that. Totally fine. I'm just gonna test this out and see how I like it for myself. Doesn't really add any weight. Potentially you could integrate it as a skid plate down the line if it's required. I know the rear subframe can smash the ground, so maybe we'll use a bit thicker metal or use a different material so that it actually does act as a skid plate of some kind. But we're gonna be able to do a quick toe alignment squared to the chassis every time without any chance. Plus I can do it by myself. I don't need someone else holding the toe plate. I did do this helmet out of PET G. I know I told you the PLA was for testing. I actually made it a bit longer and reduced the angle. We're gonna glue this one in, and this should work and hold up to the temps. The temps are not high. All right, so if you come down here, you'll see the exhaust mod worked really well. The clamps came off, so we're gonna re-weld the clamps so that we can tighten them tighter. If you tighten them too much, they actually just break off. Everything else worked extremely well, keeping the exhaust separate from everything else and creating this panel for the floor was great. We'll probably powder coat these just to make them look nice. And then this bottle bracket, holy crap. This was amazing. I can change a bottle 5 times faster and easier. It's so much better. It's away from the exhaust. It's on the other side of the car. Distribution-wise, it actually works out really well for, at least for DMCC stuff, because we're constantly doing left bank turns. So you actually want to weight the car on the inside left, which is where the driver sits on a left-hand drive car. Weight, bottle, so you want to bias the car actually to the left whenever you're doing a bank. A lot of those right-hand drive guys and stuff, if they corner balance the car, not that corner balancing really determines much, but you know, we are setting up the car proper for what we're doing. Let's take a look at the Rush Car bumpers, and I'll show you why they're kind of a pain and how we are thinking of designing shelves for these, and then I'm sure people watching, if you have the same car, we could make more, we could do the same thing for you guys. Let's go take a look. We actually just hooked up AC in this thing. This bumper has these brackets on it for the splitter. These brackets are what hold the splitter on a tube that's on the Rush Car itself. So I was going to mimic that tube, weld E-track clips to it, and put them here so that we can hang the bumper this way. The problem with that was the bumper, when hanging, I'll try and do this on my own. They're quite heavy, honestly. I had it hanging like this off of those brackets. And essentially, when the weight was on the bracket and this was trying to swing down, there was so much pressure on the wall that it just simply was not gonna work. And then this tire rack was empty and I was like, I'll just put it there for now. And honestly, you can see it just kind of sits there on its own. So that sparked the idea of we're trying to hold these the wrong way and they're taking up a lot more space this way. If you hold it that way, they kind of sit on their own. It's a lot easier to put them on and stuff. So basically, I'm making a square frame out of similar material, 1.5 inch, 83 thou wall thickness square tube. And I'm gonna make a 40-inch by 20-inch square frame that has 2 E-tracks welded to it, and then a simple support beam that'll go to this lower E-track. And the cool part is we're gonna be able to use these also for different storage things, tires, or just put a board on it and it's a shelf, whatever. It's gonna be an auxiliary shelf that's gonna hold these bumpers plus anything else that we might wanna do. So that's cool. Quote of the day that I got from yesterday: you'll learn more doing something for 1 hour than you will thinking about something for 3 months. So basically, thinking about something for 3 months is less productive than just trying to do it for 1 hour. And the cool thing about that is, for me personally, I have both my kids doing jiu-jitsu, for example, and I've never done it. I've thought about doing it, and I don't really have time to do it, but I've thought about doing it. I would probably learn more in doing it for an hour than I have for the last 3 months that they've been doing thinking about it. So just apply that to your life in some method, and it's going to be really beneficial. And the AC unit bolted right into these hatches, and now we've got 13,500 BTUs of pure cold air. And because of the size of this trailer, we're actually gonna hang some drapes right here. And then, I guess this does apply to design time, we're gonna have to hang the drapes up to the roof so that we can use the trailer, but then allow them to come down whenever we want to cool the front half for human beings, for us to exist. That's all I got for you guys. We'll see you next week, probably after this one. Jack's gonna go over and do some filming with Rain on the pit cart, actually getting this thing built, and we'll probably do a specific video regarding that, because we want to put all the things that we want to possibly add into a hot pit, put them all into one spot on the floor, and see how are we going to get all of this stuff on this cart.